At 9:40 p.m., red and blue lights washed across my garage door like I'd done something worth cuffing. I was standing in my own driveway, leaning against my truck, holding a chipped black coffee mug. The air smelled like fresh-cut grass and warm asphalt. Quiet Tuesday night, 2 officers stepped out, hands resting near their belts, not aggressive, just cautious. One asked my name. The other glanced at the house number. We got a call about a suspicious male loitering in this driveway. I actually looked behind me, then back at them. "This is my house." They exchanged a look. The older one lowered his voice. "Sir, this is your address." Complaint had come from an HOA board member. She'd reported an unknown man pacing near vehicles, possibly casing homes. I was wearing sweatpants and an old Marine's hoodie. The officers were polite, almost apologetic, said they had to respond. I thanked them, shook their hands, stayed calm, but as the cruiser pulled away, I didn't feel embarrassed. I felt measured, because that call wasn't confusion. It was documentation. And documentation means intent. By morning, I'd know exactly what she was building. I'm 46. Spent 12 years in military logistics before starting a small distribution company out of a rented warehouse. Nothing glamorous. Just steady contracts, early mornings, spreadsheets that balance. I bought this house because it's 6 minutes from my daughter's school. That mattered more than square footage. I mow my lawn in straight lines, edge the driveway clean, replace boards before they rot. I pay my HOA dues on the 1st of every month, not the 15th. In my office closet, I keep 3 binders: mortgage, insurance, HOA correspondence, tabs labeled, dates highlighted, paper beats power. It always has. I refinanced last year when rates dipped. Tight margins, but manageable. What I don't have is room for a dragged-out legal circus. Attorneys burn $500 an hour just saying hello. I don't look for fights. I build systems so I don't have to. That's what made the flashing lights feel intentional, not random. Chosen. She didn't pick the loud neighbor with the broken fence. She picked the quiet one with records. 3 days after the police visit, a certified letter arrived from the HOA. The letter was signed by Sharon Whitmore, compliance chair, retired municipal code enforcement. That title gets repeated a lot around here. She drives a pearl white Lexus SUV and talks about standards like they're sacred law. At meetings, she quotes bylaws from memory and smiles the way people do when they know you don't. Her letter cited nuisance behavior and suspicious activity observed within the community. $250 pending review. It referenced a pattern of non-compliance. I'd never been fined. Not once. I emailed back the same morning. Calm. Requested documentation of the complaints, dates, reporting parties, and the specific covenant provisions allegedly violated. No response. A week later, another notice. Improper vehicle presence. My truck parked in my own driveway overnight. This time, the fine included administrative fees. I began to see it. Each letter stamped, numbered, archived. Each accusation vague but official-looking. They weren't correcting behavior. They were building a record. Question wasn't whether I'd broken a rule. It was why they needed it to look like I had. Instead of arguing, I pulled out my HOA binder and started reading the bylaws line by line. The notices started arriving weekly. Certified envelopes with that sharp chemical paper smell. Black toner still faintly tacky under my thumb. Each one citing something smaller than the last. Grass exceeding allowable height by half an inch. Trash bin visible from partial street angle. Vehicle presence beyond customary duration. Then the escalation. Failure to remit administrative fees may result in lien proceedings. A lien. Over grass. Neighbors stopped making eye contact. I later learned Sharon had posted in the community Facebook group about a resident experiencing instability and late-night suspicious pacing. No names. Just enough. I went through meeting minutes online. Highlighted dates in yellow, cross-checked votes. Several fines, including mine, weren't tied to quorum approvals. Some notices were dated before the inspection windows closed. Deadlines didn't line up. Most HOAs operate under state nonprofit statutes. That means procedures matter. If they skip steps, enforcement can collapse. And then I saw something stranger. Sharon's signature on my violation letters didn't match the signature on the HOA's corporate filings with the state. Same name, different hand. That's when the pressure shifted in my chest. This wasn't sloppy. It was coordinated. So I stopped defending and started digging. I called 2 attorneys before I changed my mind. Both were sharp, both were expensive, and both turned this into a formal war immediately. Letters. Countersuits, escalation, that's reactive. And reactive burns cash. Instead, I hired a licensed private investigator, not some trenchcoat stereotype, former state investigator. Clean website, clear contract, everything lawful, public records, searches, court databases, corporate filings, prior civil actions. No hacking, no games. I didn't ask him to dig up dirt. I asked him one question. Is she applying these rules evenly? Selective enforcement is poison for HOAs. If you can prove it, fines unravel. On our first call, I gave him dates, copies of letters, screenshots of meeting minutes. On the second, he asked for Sharon's full legal name and previous employment details. On the third call, he went quiet for a few seconds longer than normal. Then he said, carefully, "This might be bigger than HOA drama." I leaned back in my chair and stared at the violation notice on my desk. Whatever he'd found, it wasn't about grass height, and it was about to change the balance entirely. The PI sent me the docket numbers first. No commentary, just links. 2 active bench warrants in a neighboring county. Failure to appear. The underlying case. Financial misconduct tied to her time in municipal code enforcement, misallocation of departmental funds. Not a rumor, not a blog post. Court records. She'd missed 2 hearings, which meant the woman fining me for non-compliance was actively avoiding a courtroom herself. I read every line twice. My pulse didn't spike. It settled there's a specific kind of arrogance that comes from believing no one will check. Here's what made it explosive. Our HOA bylaws prohibit board membership for anyone with unresolved criminal matters involving fiduciary conduct. It's buried in Section 4 under eligibility standards. Most people never read that far. She knew rules. She built her authority on them, and she was disqualified under her own structure. The question that kept echoing was simple. How had the rest of the board not known? Or worse, had they? I didn't call the police. I didn't email the neighborhood. I printed certified copies of everything and slid them into my binder. The next HOA meeting was in 12 days. I planned to be there. The clubhouse always smells like burnt coffee and lemon disinfectant. Fluorescent lights hum overhead, flattening everyone's skin tone into the same tired shade. Folding chairs scrape against tile as neighbors settle in, whispering without looking at me. Sharon sits at the front table in a navy blazer, papers stacked neatly. Lexus keys placed beside her like a badge. Halfway through the agenda, she clears her throat. Next, escalation of lien proceedings for continued non-compliance. My name. She recites dates, violation codes, unpaid administrative fees. Calm, clinical. Like I'm a line item. When the floor opens for homeowner comments, I stand. Not fast, not slow. I'd like confirmation, I say evenly, that all current board members meet eligibility requirements under Section 4.3 of our bylaws. A few heads tilt. Sharon smiles thinly. We do. I walk forward and hand each board member a stapled packet certified court records, docket numbers highlighted. The room goes quiet in layers. Paper rustling. Someone coughs. I don't look at her. I look at the board. I believe there may be an unresolved issue affecting compliance authority. Silence. Silence thickens. Sharon laughs once, sharp and dismissive. Then one of the board members reads the warrant number out loud. Could feel the temperature change. One board member flipped through the packet, again, slower this time. Another leaned back, eyes narrowing. Across the room, I noticed a neighbor, holding her phone chest high, recording. Sharon's voice tightened. This appears to be an administrative error. It has nothing to do with HOA governance. I kept mine steady. Delective enforcement under invalid authority can void all fines, especially if actions are taken by someone legally ineligible to serve. A few people murmured ultrapli veers, beyond authority. It's not dramatic, it's procedural. And procedure is everything in associations like this. The treasurer asked, carefully, "Are these warrants active?" "Yes," I said. "As of this week." Sharon's composure cracked just slightly, a flush rising at her collar. Within minutes, the president called for an emergency recess. The vote on my lien was tabled. 2 weeks later, Sharon resigned for personal reasons. The HOA withdrew every fine issued under her signature. An independent audit was announced. No applause. No shouting. Just accountability. Unfolding exactly the way it should. But I wasn't finished. An attorney called me the week after Sharon resigned. Said I likely had grounds harassment, reputational damage, possibly even emotional distress. He wasn't wrong. But lawsuits don't just punish. They scorch. I didn't move here to burn the place down. At the next meeting, I submitted a formal petition instead. Transparent voting procedures. Mandatory quorum verification before fines. A third-party compliance review once a year. Written complaint verification so no one could weaponize anonymity again. No speeches about revenge. No victory laps. I told them stability matters more than punishment. Property values don't come from fear. They come from trust. Some neighbors avoided my eyes that night. Others nodded quietly. Paper beats power. It always has. Systems don't fail because rules exist. They fail when the wrong people hide behind them. Months later, you could feel the difference on the sidewalks, and it showed the reforms passed. Quorum rules tightened. Complaint forms standardized. An outside compliance firm now reviews enforcement actions twice a year. Meetings feel different, less like court, more like neighbors solving problems. The police haven't been back. On warm evenings, my daughter rides her bike in slow circles at the end of the driveway. No whispers. No phones pointed from behind curtains. Just the sound of tires humming over pavement and someone grilling 2 houses down. Here's what I learned. Bureaucracy isn't dangerous because of rules. Rules can protect people. It becomes dangerous when rules shield ego instead of serve the community. So I'm curious, have you ever been targeted by your HOA for something absurd? If you were in my position, would you have exposed her or sued? Let me know. And next week, I'll tell you about the developer who tried to seize a widower's land over a 6-inch fence because systems can work, but only when the people inside them are accountable.